Right, well, this is a session that I've been looking forward to for a while. On the couch with me here, I've got George Olver from Movidium, and two likely reprobates who masquerade as cameramen, Phil Arntz and Paul Williams. Welcome, gents. This is exciting because a lot of what we've been talking about today has been very technology-based, and while there's a technological element to Movidium, that's not its main purpose, is it?
Well, I mean, Movidium, for starters, is a human project. You know, it's about people. It's about collaboration, it's about filmmaking, and it's about efficient project management. So we're kind of bringing up, bringing into the sort of modern era, building a project management tool specifically for filmmakers. And I know these guys here are two sort of eminent filmmakers, and we managed to show them this platform today. And it's just very interesting how people respond to it. And I think, the single shooter DOP generation are really ready for a collaborative tool that streamlines their production processes. So yeah, it's a people project. It's a collaboration project for filmmakers.
So yeah, for the benefit of anyone who's not been onto the website, which has a pretty self-explanatory video, what is Movidium?
So Movidium is two things really. It's a social network for filmmakers to profile and raise awareness about their expertise, their show reels, their featured work, their kit list. So it's a profiling site for filmmakers to show the world what they do and their creative abilities. And then on the other side, it's a project management tool. So it's call sheets, storyboards, team arrangement, team administration, all those bits of project management that is challenging with the existing tool set out there today. And we've really rethought those project management tools specifically for filmmakers and how they can use it to really create value for their clients, be that a brand, an agency, or a wider Hollywood production.
Sure. So Paul, you've worked with these guys a number of times in a capacity as a cameraman.
Yeah.
You guys have an agency.
Yeah.
Tell me how it grew from that into Movidium, and how these guys could be benefiting from something like this.
Well, I think it's very interesting how that came about. I mean, at the moment when I get a gig or something comes on, and you need Paul or even Phil, we're like, give him a call, send him a text. You can't get hold of him. How do we negotiate a rate? All these things that come up immediately when you think, right, we've got to pull a team together. On Movidium, we want to raise visibility about what each of us are up to, so we can keep tabs on our expertise and keep tabs. I know that Paul has worked a lot in the food space, for example. With Movidium, I'll be able to keep a regular tab on that. If a project comes in for me in that area, I'll know that Paul is the man to go to. And likewise, I know that Phil has done a lot of work in Dubai. So if I need a very high spec piece of work done out there, he's the go-to man. And Movidium is going to raise visibility of these expertises and the equipment the cameramen have, and single shooters and DOP directors. But it's for everyone inside the filmmaking sort of world, really.
So Paul, as a distinguished cameraman, DOP, and all-round great guy, how can you see integrating Movidium into what you do, and how can you see that benefiting you?
Well, I mean, I think it really brings together a lot of aspects, I mean, in terms of social media as well. So for instance, it brings together Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever social medias you're on. Obviously you can spend a lot of time on all of those, networking with people. I think this is a kind of one-stop shop. In terms of, kind of finding either like-minded individuals or other members of crew as a shooter. For instance, I've got regular people that I work with, assistants, soundmen, etc., etc. But sometimes, like recently, I found that I couldn't have my first choice assistant, even the second choice person wasn't available, and I want to find somebody who I can trust. I can't just take any old assistant onto a shoot with a client and trust them. So it's kind of a way of hooking up with, hopefully reliable people, and being able to hook up with people on one kind of network, rather than having to search around, looking on Twitter or looking from emails for people that have message me to say, can I come and assist you, or whatever. So it's really one place to go to for that, and also obviously, you know, as a cameraman, a DP, you know, production companies can look at my profile. I haven't got to just have stuff on Vimeo, my website, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You know, they can see everything on that one platform, which is great. And in fact, I was looking at it this morning and thinking, actually, this could actually replace my website. I potentially wouldn't actually need the sort of website I've got at the moment, because for me, I've got to maintain that website. I'm not an expert on website programming, so I have to get somebody else to do that for me.
Which is a cost.
Well, it is,
in
yeah,
time
and also,
and
you
money.
know, if I want to put more video content on my website, refreshing it is always something which is something you need to do. The only thing I can really do on my website is my blog, as it's WordPress.
Yeah.
So with this, you've potentially got.
And let's be honest, the purpose of a website is a virtual business card. I mean, so you
Yeah.
wanna, if you're appealing to creatives and agencies, kind of makes sense to be in Movidium. Phil, bringing you into this, I mean, what kind of stuff do you do? What's your specialty?
So it really shifts around. You know, I used to do a lot of time lapse a while ago, and now I've just sort of been focusing on doing a lot of like extreme sports, action sports kind of things, and you know, trying to get more into like branded content as well. Everything's sort of evolving around using new technology, you know, camera movement and all that kind of stuff for commercial projects. And I think this is one of the main examples on the Movidium side as well. They have this ad there that's sort of like using new technology and all that kind of stuff. And I think Movidium is really a really cool platform. It's a social media network that cuts out cat pictures and dog pictures. You know, no offense to your pug, but you know, it's great to have like a show, like a stop where it's just business. So you can log on to Movidium, and you can just see what your peers in the industry are up to. And I think with social media nowadays, it's very difficult to filter what is actually going on. And I think it's a really nice platform to meet new people and collaborate with new people, because I'm sort of trying to do mostly DOP work, but I often find myself in the position where I get work from a client and I still need to hire people. So it's very easy to go around asking your friends for recommendations, but you might not necessarily find the right person for the right project.
But it's more than just a social media network, isn't it? I mean, much more than that.
Absolutely, Dan. I mean, I think as these guys have explained and you know, extrapolated how their own web presence and own work might work on the profile side, there's very much the project management side as well, and that's where you start a project, you build a team by searching people, add these team members into the project, and we've got a very design-centric card system for pulling in these team members, so you can visually build an identity for your project, and then build timelines. That project can have assets. We've integrated with Dropbox, which I think is a key tool for many filmmakers, and we're looking to really integrate with tools that filmmakers work a lot with today and feel very passionate about and have got already a good workflow for. So we're looking to put this sort of layer of collaboration specifically in the project management side, and having had 10 years running my own agency, I've got a very good sensitivity to what those pain points are, and we're not going to get them all right from day one, don't get me wrong, but we've given it a good piece of thinking to get to this stage, and we'll be launching this into sort of live beta over the coming weeks, which is going to be a very exciting and kinetic period. It will be happening slowly as we build a robust make the technology more robust as the numbers of people on the network grow, and it's something we're really prepared for. You know, we've had an exceptional response thus far, and the key thing is filmmakers want to be out there making the film. So anything that makes the project management, the admin, the receipt drawer more efficient, I think is a good thing. And I think to Paul's point about his website, why not? Movidium.com/Paul will save that for you. No, so it'll be. I think that's it makes sense if we're bringing a lot of eyeballs, creating work, people who want to commission films to the platform. We're calling out to filmmakers to put their best work and their best information and their blog posts which are relevant to their interests, so they're sought out for those specific skill sets.
And what about you've got a lot of creatives on there who could be claiming to have lots of skills and have footage. Is there any way of...
Checks and balances.
Yeah.
I think the checks and balancing thing is incredibly important, and I think it's quite self-policing. I know if I did a project with these three and I was over-claiming, one of them would call me out on it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a peer-to-peer. Don't forget we're dealing with a professional group of people here. You know, to Phil's point about you know, some of the more errant media that you see on other social networks, we are dealing with a professional community of people, and we've got this. Spent a lot of time designing this credit and testimonial system, where if I upload a piece of media, we can send a notification out to other members of the crew, and then that's validated and verified. So actually we're hoping to build a really true identity of the contributors, which is a dynamic thing in comparison just to the white credits that roll up after a Hollywood movie.
And of course it's not just about individual creators with certain skill sets pitching for work or being available for work. It's for the agencies and the clients as well, isn't it?
Absolutely key point there. I mean, you've got the, you know, let's call it, you know, filmmakers, a general term, but one of the key things for us is to make sure that those filmmakers are getting work and finding opportunity. And there is a vast number of agencies, businesses, SMEs and brands that are committed and determined to create content for their social channels. They've seen, I think a lot of luxury fashion brands produce very high quality stuff. They don't know how they do it so inexpensively, and they want to produce at that level. And I think it's an opportunity that can be seized by filmmakers with visibility. And it's our responsibility to filmmakers by building this initiative and creating Movidium that we drive opportunity and work to our network of filmmakers. It's a key part of the mix.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, beyond just obviously positioning yourself, which I think from a website perspective is absolutely key, because you're largely pitching to people in the industry. What other benefits can you see to just decide? There's a whole kind of payment side of it. I mean, how can that benefit you guys?
Well, I think obviously collaboration and working with new people and creating great projects is one thing, but at the end of the day you've got to get paid for it. So if it's a system where you can keep track of your expenses easily, we all know the problem where you travel somewhere and you incur expenses, you buy a sandwich at the airport, you do this and you do that. It's great if you have a point where you can literally list it all in there, your expenses, your travel, plus your fee, your equipment and all that. And if you can list it all into that software and have a great overview of what expenses are incurred in what kind of area, then obviously it gets a lot easier for the producer or for whoever's paying the accountant to look at it.
Creatives haven't always been great at paperwork.
Well, I mean, I think the creative bit of paperwork is in the storyboarding and sketching out a narrative of the film. And I think, I wouldn't want my creatives to be brilliant at expense filing or documenting train receipts.
But it's still an important part of running a business.
It's still an incredibly important part of running a business. And you've got to be accountable to your clients. You've got to be accountable to the agency that you're working for, or even the brand. And I think anything that makes that easier, as equipment is getting smaller and high quality productions are becoming much more widespread, there's a very interesting sort of network of sort of new creative brand filmmakers out there, and they don't necessarily have all the skills to run a business. So we want to really take the weight for that and really guide and have some central infrastructure for them.
So we talked about the kind of creative side, we talked about the kind of the management tools and the admin, but you can actually get paid through Movidium as well. It acts like a kind of payment house as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think again it comes back to the credit and testimonial system. There are other examples out there on the web where you go and find something and there's a transaction through the website. Now, we are building a payment engine into the fundamental messaging system of the website. So you can put funds into escrow, funds can be transferred at the click of a button, and it's a very dynamic way of looking at how to pay people in a production environment. So yes, there's an administrative and payment engine built right into Movidium's core DNA.
Because getting paid can be the hardest part, depending on the client, depending on are you set up on the system. Sometimes it's 60 days. Yeah. This should interface nicely with that whole thing. Maybe some of the bigger brands who normally pay in 60 or 90 days, if they want to use crew and the facility in Movidium may have to adjust the way they do business and start paying a bit up front to help the younger creatives kind of get paid and not be waiting 90 days for money.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think cash flow for a new business, or even cash flow for an established business, is one of the most fundamental metrics. And I think it's very important that an agreement is put in place. You're getting paid in advance. You're getting paid halfway through. Whatever you've arranged, you can actually factor that into the Movidiam work form. The booking form, and then that's documented. So there's no more vagary about that process. It's very factored in.
I think the interface means that things can be very upfront in terms of your costs. If you want to list your rates on there, they don't have to be out in the open. They can be just visible to certain people. But also they can keep a production manager, whether it's yourself or somebody else, a producer, can keep a track of your costs. And as I say, you have the option to be paid within that system, or you can opt out of it. But I think it potentially makes things a lot more transparent. And also, I mean, I find some clients I have, you do the job, you then list your expenses, they then have to send you a purchase order, you then have to add that to your invoice and then send it back to them, and before you know it, it's taking you 2 months, 3 months to get paid. So I think there's a potential for this to be much more kind of open. If a production manager can see your expenses going into that system, then there is potential for you to get paid a lot quicker, hopefully.
I think expertise over geographical boundaries as well. If you need someone at a distance, you can look at their profile, build an understanding. This is the perfect filmmaker for me, right? Yes, I commissioned them to make a film. All the agreement is in the system, and once I've received the files as agreed, then the payment will be released, and it's at a click of a button. It's not a negotiable position. There is a fabric of ombudsmanship surrounding that process. I mean, there are many examples over the web.
I think certainly that centralization of those core elements of a job. I mean, especially when you're freelance. One day you're working for one client, the next day you're working for another client. I mean, with travel involved as well, you end up with a wallet full of different currency receipts, and you end up waiting a week or two before you do them, and you're right, you can wait months and months to be paid. So I think that's been a big plus, and of course the transparency from a client perspective of actually seeing the expenses. I'm sure there's a way to just photograph your expenses and submit them and tag them to the file.
No, exactly that. I mean, I think it's a very, these things don't want to run wild, and if you can organise them, and anyone can submit them, and they can be approved and signed off and added to the project budget, and we can build a timeline, and you can see the expenses growing, and you've got to be a bit tighter than elsewhere.
So, where can people find out more information?
People can find out more on the .com site, movidiam.com. We're inviting people to request an invite at this moment. We're very much looking forward to inviting our first wave of people to start using the platform, and you guys will be amongst that group of people. It's a very exciting moment, and we'll be producing a lot more media to guide people around how to use it and explanations. But yeah, so the .com site.
I think there's been a lot of people have tried to do something like this quite unsuccessfully, and it's very exciting. I think that with your pedigree of working in an agency and running an agency, and working with really talented individuals, I can see this being, and I hope it is, a huge success, because it really does sound fascinating. We're out of time for this time, guys. Please do check out the site movidiam.com. Up next, we've got Foreseen with Larry Jordan, so don't go away.